It's easy to assume that high intelligence automatically protects a person from foolish decisions. We tend to believe that people who are educated, clever, or intellectually gifted will naturally make better choices, see through misinformation, and resist harmful ideas. But history and everyday life proves otherwise. Brilliant people can fall for destructive ideologies. Highly educated individuals can support irrational beliefs. Clever minds can make terrible moral decisions. And sometimes the smartest people in the room make the most foolish mistakes. To understand why this happens, we can look to the insights of Dietrich Bonhoeffer, a German theologian and anti-Nazi thinker who studied the psychological roots of foolishness during one of the darkest periods of history. His theory, now known as Bonhoeffer's theory of stupidity, offers one of the most powerful explanations for why intelligent people can still act foolishly, why societies can fall into irrational behavior, and why wisdom is not the same as intelligence. Bonhoeffer's core insight: foolishness is not a lack of intelligence. Bonhoeffer observed something disturbing about the rise of Nazism in Germany. Many of the people who were supporting, rationalizing, or participating in the regime's atrocities were not ignorant or uneducated. Many were intelligent, cultured, and highly trained professionals. This led him to a profound conclusion. Foolishness is not the same as stupidity. It has nothing to do with IQ. It is a psychological and social condition. In other words, a foolish person is not necessarily a person lacking intelligence. They are a person whose thinking has been captured, manipulated, or suppressed by external forces. Foolishness is learned, encouraged, and socially reinforced. And that makes it far more dangerous than simple ignorance. Why intelligence isn't enough? Intelligence allows someone to solve problems, analyze information, and understand complexity. But intelligence alone does not guarantee moral courage, independent thinking, emotional stability, resistance to pressure, awareness of manipulation. These qualities are psychological and ethical, not intellectual. A highly intelligent person can still rationalize harmful beliefs, conform to destructive group norms, ignore evidence that contradicts their worldview, use their intelligence to justify emotional impulses. In fact, intelligence can sometimes make people better at fooling themselves because they can create more elaborate explanations or defenses for their irrational behavior. This is why Bonhoeffer believed that foolishness is less about the mind and more about the will, less about thinking and more about surrendering one's personal responsibility. How people become foolish, the social mechanism. Bonhoeffer argued that foolishness spreads through group influence. In groups, especially large, powerful, emotional, or authoritarian groups, people stop thinking independently and begin absorbing ready-made ideas. Several psychological forces contribute to this. 1. Group identity takes over personal judgment. People want to belong, and when belonging becomes more important than truth, individuals adopt ideas that match the group, even if those ideas are irrational. 2. Responsibility is outsourced. When people follow a group, a leader, or an ideology, they begin to feel less personally accountable for their actions. I was just following the crowd. I was just doing my job. I'm not responsible. The authorities told us what to do. This mentality allows foolishness to flourish without self-reflection. 3. Thinking becomes passive. Bonhoeffer believed that foolishness happens when people allow someone else to think for them. They stop evaluating new information and simply repeat what they are told. 4. Emotional narratives override logic. Groups often use fear, anger, pride, or resentment to shape their members' thinking. Emotion replaces reasoning, and rational thought becomes secondary. 5. Foolishness feels empowering. This is perhaps the most surprising part of Bonhoeffer's theory. Foolish people often feel superior, not insecure. They feel enlightened, not misled. They feel loyal, not manipulated. Because their identity is merged with the group, questioning their beliefs feels like an attack on their entire existence. Intelligence cannot break through willful foolishness. Bonhoeffer wrote that foolishness is nearly impossible to defeat with argument or evidence. Why? Because foolishness is not a problem of understanding. It is a problem of commitment and ego. A foolish person is not lacking information. They are unwilling to consider it. When someone is deeply attached to a belief emotionally or socially, facts become irrelevant. Logic becomes threatening. Evidence feels insulting. Reasoning becomes futile. This is why Bonhoeffer said that foolishness is more dangerous than malice. You can protest evil. You can fight against bad intentions. But you cannot reason with foolishness. Foolishness shuts the door to dialogue. Examples of intelligent foolishness. Throughout history, countless intelligent individuals have acted foolishly. Scholars who supported harmful political regimes, scientists who justified unethical experiments, leaders who rationalized oppression, business executives who ignored obvious financial risks, extremely smart people who fall for conspiracy theories, professionals who become extremists or fanatics, innovators who sabotage their own lives through arrogance. These examples show that intelligence alone is not enough to protect someone from foolishness. In fact, intelligent people often build stronger, more convincing arguments for their irrational beliefs. The smarter the person, the more sophisticated their self-deception can become. The key to wisdom: independence of thought. According to Bonhoeffer, the antidote to foolishness is not intelligence, it is liberation. People become foolish when they surrender their autonomy. They become wise when they reclaim it. This involves several key elements. 1. Courage to stand alone. Independent thinking often requires going against the group. This can be uncomfortable, but it is necessary. 2. Willingness to question one's own beliefs. Wisdom requires introspection, not blind certainty. 3. Emotional regulation. A calm mind evaluates reality more accurately than a fearful or angry one. 4. Exposure to diverse perspectives. Foolishness thrives in isolation. Wisdom grows through dialogue. 5. Commitment to truth over identity. When people choose truth, even when it challenges their pride, they become resilient to manipulation. 6. Personal responsibility. Wise individuals do not outsource their judgment to groups, leaders, or ideologies. Why Bonhoeffer's theory matters today. Bonhoeffer's observations were formed during a time of extreme political manipulation, propaganda, and mass conformity. But his theory is just as relevant today. In modern life, foolishness can spread through social media, political polarization, tribal identity, online echo chambers, celebrity influence, algorithm-driven information bubbles. These forces encourage emotional thinking, group loyalty, and passive acceptance of ideas, all of which amplify the kind of foolishness Bonhoeffer warned about. Understanding his theory helps explain why educated people believe obvious falsehoods, why intelligent individuals join harmful movements, why smart people make irrational decisions in relationships or careers, why logic often fails to persuade people today. The danger is not ignorance, it is captured thinking. Final thought: wisdom requires freedom, not intelligence. Bonhoeffer believed that intelligence is a tool, but wisdom is a choice. A person becomes foolish not because they lack intellect, but because they surrender their independence, responsibility, and moral courage. Smart people can still be foolish when they let emotion replace thinking. They allow groups to define their beliefs. They prioritize identity over truth. They silence their own judgment. They refuse to examine their motives. Foolishness is not a mental weakness. It is a moral and psychological one. And the moment someone chooses to think for themselves, question their assumptions, and resist manipulation, they take the first step toward wisdom. If you enjoy deep psychological and philosophical content like this, don't forget to like, subscribe, and share your thoughts in the comments. Do you think Bonhoeffer's theory explains modern foolishness?